Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Power Book 2 Ghost Episode 3 review. And, I gotta say, it's not a perfect show, but I am still very much enjoying it 3 episodes in.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode.
It brought a lot to us, though ironically, not all of it was actually related to Tariq all that much.
Yeah, which is something that I'm going to get into a little bit as we get on of what it was I loved about this episode and why I'm starting to enjoy this show as much as I am, and it actually doesn't have to do with Tariq.
Before we get into it, though, if you guys do like this video, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for more, and if you do want to support us further, just check those links to the store and also our Patreon.
Okay, so as we were kind of talking about a little bit, this episode, it did have some Tariq in it, but not a lot. This episode was a lot of more of a deep dive into Monet and her family and the dynamics of that family, which I am really all in on. Like, if they come out and say they're having some sort of a Monet family spin-off, I'm going to be the first person in line to watch this. I think it's a really interesting family because we have Lorenzo, who's in jail, who's set up really well, playing dominoes with the guards, drinking beers, having his cell phone around. That was also very interesting, the amount of power that he has and influence that he has in jail. Then we've got Monet. She's trying to balance this relationship she has, balance being a mom, balance this business. There's a lot that's going on. Then we finally have started to dive a bit deeper into the kids. We've got Kane, who's sort of this loose cannon. They can't really control him. He's a bit of the enforcer. He's very unpredictable, a little bit like Tommy in that way. You don't exactly know how he's going to handle everything, mostly with violence, but not always. He's such a wild card. And then you've got Drew, and they're really trying to push this thing where, Lorenzo wants him to step up. He's the one that he believes in that can take over the family business. But he's just kind of more of a reasonable guy and thinks that he can reason with everybody that's in this world. And then you have Diana, who wants to go to school and wants to play basketball and wants to move away sort of from this life. And then Monet's just like, no, that's not happening. You need to be part of this life. Like the opposite of what was going on with Ghost and Tariq, where he wanted Tariq to move away from the life, but Tariq was like, no, I'm going to be squarely in this life.
I think I'll start with just sort of saying this, that every prison movie or TV show, they all have that character who is probably the most dangerous criminal in the entire prison, and yet they're sitting on a throne, and they've got a couch and a TV, and they've always got all of this sort of stuff in there.
Yep.
It feels sort of like that is where this Lorenzo character is. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Michael K. Williams in The Night Of, that character, where it felt like he was just at a different spot in there than almost everybody else.
Yeah. You want a beer? I was like, what? What is happening? Where are you?
I'm fascinated by that. I've already made it clear. I am totally all in on Kane. I love the exchange. If we meet this dude, Lil Guap, and, I really could care less about this guy, but I found it mostly interesting. You see Drew trying to handle him one way, and then, Kane shows up, and then all of a sudden, Lil Guap is just sort of no, we're just fooling around here. It's all good, Kane. You got nothing to worry about.
I really like that this show is bringing social media into all of this. They had it in the last episode as well, when Tariq and they had that sort of vigil for his dad, and we had Brayden knocking out everybody's phones and all that. And now we've got it again where Monet is trying to deal with this son of someone that Lorenzo wants to, keep protected in some sort of way and keep working with in some sort of way. It was completely out of control. But that idea of flaunting wealth on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, I mean, we see that every day from people. So the fact that he's doing something criminal, but he's flaunting all his wealth online, I mean, that feels like something that would be happening.
It feels like all of this, at times my concern with Power Book 2, mostly with Brayden, is that we're sort of getting into very specific, archetypes, and I think at least with Monet and her family, we're drifting from that a little bit. I mean, yes, Kane basically is the enforcer stereotype from every heist movie out there, but it's like, I kind of don't mind. He's just like this show's answer to Pope on Animal Kingdom, and
Oh man, what a great character.
like, I'm all in on the terribleness of Pope. I'm also all in on the craziness of Kane. I think there's a lot to be mined in all of this, and here you sort of have Tariq. And by the way, I think one of the reasons why Monet is probably so skeptical about Tariq wanting to get involved in all of this is she's probably sort of looking around, and it's like, you really want to be all up in this business with you got Kane doing what he's doing, and you got Drew. It's like, this is not for the faint of heart, people.
Well, Monet also probably doesn't want to deal with having another kid that she has to deal with. I mean, her family's pretty young still. They're all young adults. So bringing in Tariq as well, who is not one of her kids, I'm sure she's just like, oh man, like, I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And that whole scene with Monet and Tariq at the end where he was kind of like, well, you know, I'm tutoring Zeke, and if you want me to keep doing that, I was just like, why isn't Monet being like, you think you're the only tutor on this campus? I can't get somebody else to tutor Zeke. Yeah. So I liked that they then had Lorenzo make that call to Tasha to basically say, listen, we're going to deal with your kid, but if he steps out of line, we're going to deal with your kid.
This show really needed this. Like, it needed some actual sort of like skin in the game for Tariq, because, you know, one of my concerns is that Tariq's gonna find all of this a little bit too easy, and things kind of, yes, I know he killed his father, but things still felt like they went his way a lot in Power, all things considered, and I think to have something hanging over him is important. And yes, I think we all have to recognize fully, Monet seems like she's got a lot of money. There are probably at least like 30 other kids at this school who she could have hired in a split second to help Zeke, who probably don't have as many other crazy things going on with their lives.
Yeah, she could have found another tutor. And she doesn't really need Tariq. Like, when she just looked at the money and was like, I don't need this, I have this. She is dealing with this problem with Little Guap, but I think she can get that under control. She doesn't really need Tariq.
I got one nitpick here with Zeke in this episode, and this is the Zeke press conference scene. As someone who has played the story mode in way too many NBA 2K games, anytime you go up there and you're basically like,
so you're an expert.
I'm totally, as somebody who played intramural basketball and Dikembe Mutombo block shot and finger wagged people when after I did it, and then they wanted to beat me up. But no, see, when you go up there and you're like, you know, they're just keeping the seat warm for me. It's like, you're getting all your team chemistry is just like going, like, these people don't want to play with you anymore. You're throwing them under the bus in front of the press, and coach ain't gonna like, this is like, they're gonna ship you off to some other school or something else at this point. You keep acting up like this in the conferences with the press. Guys, if you need a basketball press conference consultant, I will offer my services.
For video games only.
Really, that's all I actually have any sort of understanding with. But it's like, this stuff at least helps to make up for the Tariq college stuff, which really I still remain not that interested in.
Yeah, I'm really not interested in it, or sort of how he's doing in school with all of this. I mean, it's also kind of strange to see him struggling as much as he is at school. I feel like he doesn't, it isn't heavy enough. Like, they've put him in a really heavy class that he's clearly smart enough to be taking, but is being overworked with other stuff. Seeing him get that no credit for doing a 20-page paper, like, why? If this was Tariq and I was Tariq, I'd be going to the dean and bringing my paper and being like, this is ridiculous. This isn't a no credit paper. This is a paper with credit. Just because I didn't write what the teacher wanted me to write. No. And I get that they're trying to challenge him or whatever, but he's still doing the work.
I will say this about this paper assignment with Tariq. I relate to this a lot because I think I had a paper at one point where I went into it in college. I was like, okay, I'm going to make this very specific argument. And I didn't get the grade I wanted in the end. And I feel like it was just because the professor knew that wasn't the actual argument I believed. And I was like, that's not the point. The point is I wrote a paper with a specific point of view. And it's like, okay, Tariq, this may not be the most compelling storyline ever here, but I do at least relate to where you're going with this and what you're feeling.
Yeah, I would have gone to the dean with that and been like, this is not happening. But this whole love triangle that's going on, I am really not interested in the girl at school. I think her name is Lauren.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling that chemistry there. It's just not working yet. I do like what's going on with Diana a little bit more.
Yeah.
But in general, I'm not as interested in the school stuff. I'm completely out on the Jabari and Carrie stuff. I don't care what's going on with that at all, and I hope they drop that.
Yeah. I don't have to say anything more about Carrie and Jabari because you just said it for me, and with that in mind, I will say as we transition over to the Tasha stuff in this episode, where is my guy? Okay, maybe not my guy, but where is Cooper Saxe in all of this? Because if I'm going to hate Cooper Saxe in the way in which I want to hate him, I need to actually see him just being just like a lousy human being on screen. It's not as much fun if he's not in the episode.
The Tasha stuff was really interesting to me because sort of this mock trial stuff is something I'm not that familiar with. So to see something like this play out, I was like, this is cool. And this is an interesting way to really see if Tasha can take the stand or not. And I love Tamika, so I was really excited to see her back, do that cross-examination. Woo! That was so good. What a great scene. That was it for me.
I think Tamika just had like a little bit of extra metaphorical gas in the tank there after Tasha previously fired her. And it was just like, oh, now you're saying that I get to, for money, come in here and attack Tasha? Yeah, I'm all in. Let's do this.
No, that was great. That was my favorite part of this whole episode.
Yeah, all of this is great, and I think I think Courtney Kemp had to know when she was sort of crafting this. I was like, okay, if you love the original Power, you're basically getting at least like 5 or 10 minutes an episode where you're gonna bring up Ghost, you're gonna bring up Tommy, you're gonna bring up Terry Silver. It's like all of the throwbacks and cameos and like all of these names. You're gonna get them all with Tasha. The problem is, I just wonder this: like, are we, as much fun as this was, how much did we actually get when it comes to advancing the storyline, other than sort of us all realizing that Tasha on the stand may not be the best move in its present form?
Yeah, I don't think that... what I'm feeling is when we finally get to the trial is that Tasha's not going to be on the stand, and that this is the way that we got that moment where she's trying to defend herself on the stand. Because if she doesn't come clean, her lawyers have basically now shown her she's not willing to come clean, she can't go on that stand.
I think what does complicate us all the much further is Tasha getting that call from Lorenzo at the end of the episode, and she knows that really Tariq is the only reason she's got Davis at this point, and we know that Tariq is trying to get into this money business with Monet, and the problem now is, okay, she needs this money, but how it's going to be getting to her is a way in which Tariq, I don't think he can't just walk himself back out of this at this point. Like, no. He's already jumped full in.
Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, that's the walking back. It's like I don't know if that's the hokey pokey or if that's like a sitting down moonwalk or something, but this is where we are with Tariq. He's in trouble and he can't just leave it now.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that there is something like this for him, because like you were saying, it feels like things are coming to him a little bit easy. Even with school and he's getting a little bit of a hard time, it's not that much of a hard time. We know he's going to get through it all right. He needed something, and for me with Monet, I needed something from her. There is no reason for her to take on Tariq when she's already got her 3 kids she's dealing with. She's dealing with her husband in jail. She's dealing with little Guap and his nonsense. Does she really need to take on another young person? Tariq doesn't bring anything to her life except that he's tutoring Zeke and there's a million tutors.
The only benefit I can see for Monet, and I have been around some of these, college people, is that a lot of them, they grew up in like some super sheltered environment and they're all like ridiculously rich. And you just I watched all these people and was like, really? Really? You're doing that with your money? It's like, oh yeah, they have no concept of money. And that is where I think Tariq is going with this pitch about this clientele.
Absolutely. There's money to be made there. But when I saw Monet's face when she looked at that money and she was like, what is this? I don't need this. I was just like, how much money are you making? Especially even that talk with Diana where she was like, oh yeah, you're only going to be making $75,000 a year. $75,000 a year? That's not terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this is money that's, It could be valuable. These people at this school are probably like of the rich idiot variety that they're going to like fill up a swimming pool with like champagne and record a YouTube video of themselves jumping into it from a rooftop or something.
Don't expect to see that at this channel.
That is probably not going to be at this channel. I value my limbs, my head, my brain, all of these sort of things, but this is a weird episode. I enjoyed it though. I'm enjoying Power Book 2 a good bit.
I really like this episode. So far, this is actually my favorite episode. And as I said at the beginning, there was a lot less Tariq in it. And it's nothing against the actor or even really the character. It's just they are doing a really good job for me with everything that's going on with Monet and this family. They're really interesting.
I need more Cooper Sacks. I just need to be able to boo him when he comes on screen. I need more heels.
He will be back.
All right, well, what did you guys think about Power Book 2 Ghost Episode 3? Be sure to share in the comments, and if you do like this video, give us a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and support us further, or check those links to the store, our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.